Hi everyone. We're gonna give it a few minutes to let people log in. I can see quite a lot of participants are joining already. Right. Let's get going, everyone. So I'm delighted to welcome you all to our road safety webinar series. And today's topic is connecting city safety needs with new opportunities. So our agenda, as always, promising and again engaging features of insights from the industry experts that we always have here with us. And our first speaker today is Dr. Werhner Brucks, who holds a PhD in social psychology and serves as the head of Road Safety Task Force in the city of Zurich. And his dedication extends beyond the task force. He plays a pivotal role in coordinating strategic focus of the city council on the crucial aspects of safety and cycling, for example, is one of the things. And as a safety officer of road infrastructure, Dr. Brucks implements and oversees a range of prevention projects, including this groundbreaking initiative such as utilizing virtual reality for danger detection for cyclists, as you can see at the Swiss Museum of Transport. His innovative approach combines psychology with cutting-edge technology to enhance safety measures and awareness. And today he's going to take us through the topic of experiencing from the past and what the prediction of the future. Following him, we have my colleague Markus Lübeck. So he's a leader in driving Vianova's operation in the DACH region. And he has a foundation in political science and from the University of Bamberg, and Markus has navigated the sphere of lobbying and strategic interests throughout his professional journey, as he's still doing at Vianova today. And he has really had a crucial role in establishing and fostering all the Vianova strategic partnerships in the DACH region. So he's collaborated with entities such as BVG, Vienna, Zurich, Deutsche Bahn. So he has an exceptional ability to bridge the gap between regulation and innovation. So it's going to be very interesting to hear a bit about his presentation later. So let's get going already. Dr. Werhner, the floor is yours.
Oops. Sorry, I'm here. So, is my screen visible at the moment?
We can see you.
Ah, okay. So, I hope this is working now.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you, and sorry for my technical inability. Thank you, Nicolina, for introducing me so nicely. I'm happy to be here, and thank you to the audience for missing lunch, especially here in Europe. I'm working, as you said, in road safety at the city of Zurich, and I do this for over 20 years now, for almost 20 years. For all that time, the main source of our knowledge has been police reported traffic crashes, and not more than that. In my office, I'm always having on my wall a little pinboard. This is hanging in front of my office, and it dates from the 1950s. So it's 70 years old, and it shows a method how to assess road safety by pinpointing accidents on a city map. This is a little pinboard. It's just a little share of the real ones that were used 70 years ago. Those huge pinboards were covering whole walls of offices. And yeah, they used pins, needles of different colors, with flags of different shapes and different colors as well, with handwritten information on it, and try to make themselves a picture of what's happening on the road. This method has not changed until today, in my opinion. We are still using the same method, but we are using new instruments, new tools. The same method is now used in a geographical information system on a computer, but the basic idea behind it is still the same. Very, very well-known instruments of this method are the BSM, the black spot management. I think this is the most widely used instrument in all road safety all over the world. It's exactly what you see here, the pinboard. And it's also another instrument called network safety management, where you look not only at small parts of the map, but on your whole road network. And as I said, today we do exactly the same. Here in Switzerland, the application that is doing this is called Management Information System for Roads, MISTRA. It's supplied by the federal government. All cantons and all cities use the same system. So in the end, you also have a national picture of your road safety. But we all know that this method has really big disadvantages. Like it's clearly a view in the past, and with all these accidents that already have happened, you may be able to prevent new accidents. But for example, new risks or things that have happened very recently are not detectable, because all your information is at least 1 year old or older, because you only use the statistics. Most commonly, you only use it once a year, here in Switzerland at least. And another methodological problem is that you have very small numbers of accidents, of crashes, with a regression to the mean. You have variation in small numbers, and then mostly you react when numbers are high, and it's a very natural phenomenon that then your numbers will go down to the mean or lower, whatever you do. So it's also an artificial method that you have, the things that you do are making the situation better than, or they seem to make it better, but actually the same thing would have happened anyway. Well, we like to talk about this data problem in terms of an iceberg or a pyramid. And as with an iceberg, we only see the very top of it. The very top is this data that we can have very easily. Police data, sometimes it's hospital data, and sometimes it's also insurance data. But most cases that I know, most of my colleagues are only using police data because they don't have anything else. And you see that even with within the police data, this is really only the small colored top of that iceberg that you are using then. And below that, you have a lot of more information that could tell you much more about your situation of road safety on your network, like near misses, slight conflicts, or even potential conflicts that would give you information. So we are not really making use of all data that is out there. We need to investigate unreported cases. such as bicycle accidents. In this case, here in Switzerland, we only know 10% of all cases. Most bicyclists are not alarming or going to the police. We don't know near misses. And what we also don't know is subjective feelings of people. Sometimes people have a very good gut feeling where situations are dangerous. And if we knew this, we could also go for these cases. So all this leads me to the conclusion that to have a better picture of road safety and to be able to really conduct good prevention in terms of infrastructure and also in terms of behavior, we have to dive much deeper into data. And I'd like to give you a few examples that I know. There may be much more out there. One example is the one of our hosts today. Vianova has developed it also for the city of Zurich. It's called the Road Safety Score of Vianova. I think it's, in my opinion, it's a big data model where different indicators that are available that are related to road safety, but not accidents, are somehow computed to a holistic view of your network safety, or at least an impression of your network safety. These indicators may be speed or speeding, or then of course traffic volume, the share of vulnerable road users, pedestrians and bicycles, and also, for example, braking events where vehicles are braking. And if you use this model and make a map out of it that is colored, like the one that you see here, you may have something like a network safety management, where it gives you a first impression of parts of your network, or maybe road segments and also crossings where you should have a closer look at. So I think this method is one key of a complete instrument that we will see later. Another one that I'm aware of and that I also used a little bit is vehicle data. Of course, we have, with the new vehicles on the roads, we have millions of sensors out there that are constantly screening our roads for information that may also be usable for road safety assessments. For example, this is the website of the Mercedes-Benz data board. They are able to, for example, provide spots where their own vehicles had to do a emergency stop without the driver involved. So the vehicle itself saw it's necessary to stop here. And this is, of course, interesting, where an algorithm or a robo car, something like that, is having information to make an emergency stop where a human driver is not. But these data are also not, first of all, they are not easily available. I think you can buy it from Mercedes. We didn't so far, but we used it for testing. You have security issues, of course, you have availability issues, and of course, it's also highly biased because this one kind of a car brand may not be a good representation of your whole network and the fleet that is on your network. In the end, we would be interested in videos. When such an event is taking place, it's very interesting for us to see what exactly caused a vehicle to brake, to make an emergency brake. But these videos are not available so far. So this may be another part of a complete instrument for road safety in the future. And a third example for today is something that we recently had in a very good master thesis here at the Technical University of Zurich, the ETH. A student won the Zurich Road Safety Prize for that by applying a camera on a known hotspot and then analyze this hotspot in deep. So these cameras are basically just filming the spot, and then some kind of artificial intelligence is trying to find patterns and also trying to find out what caused the vehicles or pedestrians to come too close to each other. We're not talking about crashes here. We're just talking about indicators such as time to collision. So how close are objects to each other? And the hypothesis would be that the closer they come to each other, the more is the probability for a crash. The box that you see on the left is sold by the Austrian Institute of Technology, and you can rent it also for a time. So this is a third instrument that you can use on a local hotspot. When you have detected your hotspots and you want to know more of one of them, this would be a tool that you can use for going even deeper into data. So this leads me to my Christmas wishes. As a road safety expert here in Zurich, or in general, I would like to have a predictive road safety assessment tool. Let's call it pre-crash. When I introduced this into the picture-giving artificial intelligence Mid-Journey, this was the picture that came out by AI, and I think it's interesting because it somehow shows what the idea would be. That we have sensors everywhere, like in the cars, on the road, on the buildings, maybe even in pedestrian, in their phone, in their smartphones. So there would be a lot of possibilities to get information directly from the scene where it happens. What we need is here for making good for a good assessment is we need the exact position of an event, we need the directions of travel, we need an assessment of the event's nature and severity, and our biggest wish would be a picture, what happened when it came to a critical situation. So in general, as much local information as possible. So to combine all these approaches into one model, I would say what we need is some method that is able to do a network-wide detection of hotspots, something like a network safety management. This may be a big data approach. It may also be vehicle data. And then we have to go into a deep analysis of the hotspots on our network, by local video analysis, maybe also by vehicle data, for example, the braking data. And in the end, we need recommendations. At the moment and for the future, for the close future, I think this is expert knowledge, but who knows if at some point in time also there an AI would be possible to have enough data and enough experience to give us clues what is wrong in a certain situation. So this is my Christmas wish. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Werner. This was a very insightful and interesting presentation. I have to say, I share the same Christmas wish as you. I also want to see the pre-crash system live. I can tell you, Vianova is very well on the way to get there. So hopefully we'll see it sooner rather than later. I have some questions for you. Can you tell us how are safety measures prioritized? So after looking at all those little dots, previously the flags and now data points, then what happens? What's the next step in a city?
Here in Switzerland, the priority goes along the severity of the crashes. Of course, the more severe a crash is, the more priority it gets when it comes to the question when and how much money we should invest. Actually, it's a kind of a formula that is implemented into the nationwide system of black spot management, and this formula is in the end prioritizing the hotspots.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it would be interesting to know that formula one day. And
it's not a secret. It's not,
okay, so
no.
what is the
I don't
formula?
know it, but it's available.
Okay, we're going to look into that because that sounds like something really interesting. And then how is the impact of taking measures determined? So then, you know, it gets prioritized with the formula that we just learned about. Then what happens next thereafter?
This is really one of the biggest disadvantages of the present system, that we are relying on historic data, and it takes 3 years at least to have enough data to make an assessment. And then if you do something, if this takes you to action, it takes another 3 years to control whether your action was successful. So in the end, we're talking about time spans of at least 6 years from your first knowledge of events and to a first knowledge whether you have succeeded.
I see. Yeah. Okay. So there's a clear opportunity there for someone who wants to take it on and make that shorter. How does the city communicate risk spots to the public today? We don't have the pre-crash system yet.
We do that on an annual basis by communication to the media, and it's also available on our website. So we are very open. It's open data here. In Switzerland, crash police data and also the hotspots are open data.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you very much. This was extremely interesting. Moving on in our webinar today, we have Markus. And Markus is going to tell us a bit about data for safer and greener streets. Markus, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much. I hope everyone can see my screen right now. That's great. So my name is Markus, and I'm responsible for developing the market on behalf of Vianova in the DACH region, Germany, Austria, Swiss. I'm working with Vianova since the past 3 years, and within this time, we've been building especially Europe's leading management platform for shared micromobility. So, and within this context, I've been in contact with at least 60, 70 different cities across the regions, and I've been building partnerships with more than 25 cities and entities, including the city of Zurich, the city of Basel, the city of Berlin, Deutsche Bahn, and others. And so this provides me with a peculiar view on how the public sector responds to urgencies, and also how the public sector collaborates with different partners. But one thing that I consider is very, very important when it comes to implementing a solution is that there is an understanding on the public sector side that there is an urgency that they need to do something about. So with regard to road safety, I would first like us to take a look at what actually is the urgency. If my screen lets me, give me a second. So here we are. Urgency first. On the left-hand side, we see the aspect of emissions. So we see that the transport sector accounts for about 740 million tons of carbon dioxide emitted in 2021, which is an increase of 21% compared to 1990. And 64% of all of this is coming from cars and motorbikes. So we always talk about like emission reduction in transport. And from this, what we can see quite clearly is that a government-driven management of transport is key for emission reduction. On the other hand, next to emissions, we have road deaths. So in 2021, the European Union was counting approximately 20,000 people being killed in transport, of which 2,500 people had been killed in Germany alone. And if we look at the graphic on the top to see the distribution, we see two very interesting things. One is that vulnerable groups, like including pedestrians and cyclists, are dying in large shares in cities, while there is a large number of deadly accidents with cars and motorbikes happening on country roads. So I think this demonstrates that there is quite a significant number of road deaths every year that is occurring in different contexts. So like a road safety effort that is exclusively looking at cities is not sufficient, while only looking at cars would also not be sufficient. So we need an understanding of road safety for the different layers, namely cities and also suburban areas. That was the urgencies, emissions and road deaths. Now let's look into opportunities, because it wouldn't be good if there was an urgency but no opportunity to do anything about it. So let's look into opportunities. And there is two things that I would like to point out. In the past few years, we see a dramatic increase of connected cars. So while in 2020, there was only about 16%, 26% of cars in the EU being connected, so data from these cars being accessible, we will see an increase of up to 93% of cars being connected in 2035. So the number or the representativity of the information that we can access from connected cars is growing significantly over the coming years. And in addition to this, we see that towards autonomous driving, there is an intense competition between like some of the largest players in the world, including the OEMs from Europe and Asia, but also including tech companies like Google, for example. And with this being said, there is confidence in people pushing for autonomous driving that at some point in time, cars will be capable to process the full complexity of the world by themselves. And that resonates the quality of information that we can expect from cars in the near future. And Werner, you have mentioned before that what you would like to get is video data, picture data from those cars. And what I would like us to be aware of is that the representativity of cars from which we can get this data is growing significantly, and the quality of videos, pictures, and so forth that we can get access to is also increasing over time. So this shows dramatic potential for all different sorts of use cases on the government side. Let's look into one use case where we can make a significant improvement compared to the status quo. Today, road safety activities are mostly based on historic accidents. But given that there will be more and more data accessible from cars, including sensory data, image data, and so forth, what we are working for today is to shift the ability of cities to act on risk spots from fatal accidents towards near-miss events, because we will be able in the future to identify areas of near-miss events and enable governments to take action upon those. And I think, Werner, it was quite interesting to see the different approaches that you demonstrated before. And I think I would like to add to this with this slide here, because I believe it is very important to not focus on one data set exclusively, to not focus on one approach exclusively, but to have a holistic approach to combining data, so that first we have an orientation on different risk spots. When it comes, however, to identifying what is the exact cause of the risk, we need to be able to implement different data sources to have the complete picture. And that is what we at Vianova working towards. So like integrating data that is at hand on the city side already and combining it with different data sets from the ecosystem of connected cars, shared micromobility, and so forth, so that we become able to identify risk spots, but also provide the necessary insights for cities and governments to take actions. So this is what I would like us to keep in mind for now. However, I believe there are challenges towards the implementation of such solutions, which I would call the culture of data-driven decisions. Let's quickly look into the field of shared micromobility. What we see is that a lot of governments have implemented regulations such as fleet caps, saying you may not have more than 800 e-scooters in the city center. And with this kind of regulation, it is inevitable to have a systematic use of connected vehicles data, because either you can use the data or you can send your ordinance authorities to count scooters in the city center. So, like in the field of shared micromobility today, data is at the core of the collaboration between cities and the shared scooter ecosystem. However, in the field of road safety today, data is widely not used so much. And where we are working towards is that we will integrate the necessary data from different sources. And the challenge for us as a company is to make it as intuitive, as accessible, as presentable to those people who make road safety decisions, that at some point in time, which I'm confident that we can reach it over the next year, cities and governments will be confidently standing in front of a data point, presenting it to the necessary audience, so that they will be confident that a data point, an analytics, a proactive, predictive approach is as convincing and as ready to action as what we have on the left, the image of the dead cyclist. This is the transformation that we're trying to make here. One additional challenge that we see, and it might be a very German argument, however, procurement always is a challenge when it comes to collaboration between the public sector and innovators, because what we see quite significantly in Germany is that the approach to procurement is quite legalistic. So the single most important dimension for procurement is compliance with regulations, while innovation, environmental friendliness, and like being an innovator or being regarded as a proactive decision maker is something that we see more on the bottom. So we need to ensure that the framework for procurement becomes more innovation friendly. What we see significantly today is that cities set up lists of criteria that are mandatory for competitors to fulfill. And only if all those criteria are fulfilled, cities will procure a solution. However, we need to have a collaboration between both sides that are committed to pilot, that are committed to explore new opportunities. And in this respect, I would like to highlight the importance of government and technology collaboration, because with regard to this, the public sector can strategically influence the development of technology. So if they partner early on, they will have a strategic partnership function for the technology industry, so that they can shape products to their individual needs. And so government and technology collaboration becomes an enabler for digital sovereignty and also resilience. While on the other hand, if the government strategically invests in collaboration with startups, the public sector will also become a relevant market for startups. So I think there is really some strong synergies on both sides. And to put it in the conclusion, on the urgency side, I think emission reduction and road deaths are key objectives that cities already have today. With the number of connected cars growing over the coming years, and with the increasing analytics and data opportunities, there is a strategic momentum for cities and governments to use this to address those challenges. And it will be upon the collaboration between governments and technology companies to make sure that this dynamic that we have in the field of technology will be used for governments to be able to take better decisions, But that will also mean that these solutions then will be specifically designed under the needs of cities and governments. So that would be my conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Markus. That was also very interesting. So you mentioned, I actually have some questions for you as well here. So you mentioned the capabilities of OEMs in the near future. And I wanted to ask, what other applications do you see the use of data from cars for cities and governments?
Well, generally speaking, when we look into connected vehicles, we're not only talking about individual people's cars, so like a Mercedes-Benz or a Porsche or a BMW, but we're also looking at commercial fleets, for example, so like in the fields of commercial deliveries, logistics, and also like an increasingly available, like the EU at the moment, for example, has addressed the specific lack of data coming from bikes. So I believe that, for example, with regard to logistics, cities are setting up low emission zones, cities are setting up logistics drop-off zones and so forth. However, they have no data from the ecosystem of logistics to determine where should I put my drop-off zone, how big should it be, is it actually even being used? So like, I believe that, for example, the field of logistics will quite soon be comparable to the field of shared micromobility, where cities want to design an integrated infrastructure for a competitive landscape. So I believe that is one significant additional use case. And the other is when it comes to building bike infrastructure. I think Germany alone is investing about 3 billion euro over the next 5 years into bicycle infrastructure. And if we want to make sure that it is in the right place, that it solves the necessary purpose, but also give governments the right data to show that what they did and what they built provided the necessary outcome, then I believe having a systematic use of the data from bicycles in particular will be one significant additional use case.
Sounds good. Yes. And I agree. It's hard to find sufficient data on bicycles. My last question is for you, Markus. Since Dr. Brucks had a Christmas wish for road safety, what would your Christmas wish for road safety be?
Am I still here?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. I would, like, I think we're still a bit far from a situation where data is really at the core of road safety decisions, or where road safety is actually being quite proactive. So like my Christmas wish would be in such a way that the public sector in particular acknowledges the high dynamic in the technological field. So the uprise of connected vehicles, the uprise of quality of data coming from cars, and also the significant improvements in the analytics market, and start to invest and start to collaborate. And if I would want to make one specific wish, then what I would like to see is that governments strategically invest in partnerships and collaborations, because they like the idea, even though the exact outcome might not be perfectly determined at the beginning of the project.
Great. Is there anything you guys would like to add? I have no more audience questions right now. If not, this concludes our webinar on road safety today.
Amazing. Yeah, nothing to add from my side.
Okay, great. Well, in that case, I want to express my gratitude to Dr. Brucks, and then Markus, to you, of course, for sharing your expertise and shedding light on critical aspects of road safety. And thank you to our audience, as always. Thank you for your active participation. Thank you for the questions. And on behalf of the whole webinar and Vianova team, we want to thank you for joining today, and see you again soon. Have a lovely Wednesday.
Bye-bye.